Have you ever felt like you were being watched, even when you were completely alone? That unsettling feeling that sends a shiver down your spine, making you question every shadow and every sound. Today's story takes us deep into the heart of an abandoned asylum, where shadows seem to move on their own, and whispers echo through the empty halls. This is not just a story. It's a chilling account of what happens when the line between the living and the dead begins to blur. The Blackwood Asylum, located on the outskirts of a small, forgotten town, has been abandoned for over 50 years. Once a place of healing, it became a house of horrors after a series of unexplained deaths and disappearances. Locals avoid the area, claiming they hear screams and whispers coming from the building at night. But for a group of urban explorers, the asylum was the perfect place for their next adventure. It was a cold October night when Sarah, Mark, and Jake arrived at the asylum. The moon hung low in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the crumbling building. The air was thick with tension as they stepped inside, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. The walls were covered in peeling paint, and the floor creaked with every step. At first, everything seemed normal, just an old, decaying building. But as they ventured deeper into the asylum, strange things began to happen. Sarah swears she saw a shadowy figure standing at the end of the hallway. When she called out, the figure vanished, but the whispers began. Faint, almost inaudible at first, they grew louder with every passing minute. Mark tried to brush it off, saying it was just the wind. But Jake, the most skeptical of the group, couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't alone. As they explored the upper floors, the whispers turned into voices that seemed to be calling their names. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream echoed through the halls. The group froze, their hearts pounding in their chests. The scream came from the direction of the staircase, but when they turned to look, there was nothing there. Panic set in as they realized the doors they had entered through were now locked. Trapped inside the asylum, the group began to experience things they couldn't explain. Sarah saw the shadowy figure again, this time closer. Its eyes glowed in the darkness, and its voice was a low, guttural growl. Mark's flashlight began to flicker, and Jake swore he felt something brush against his arm. As the night wore on, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. They seemed to be coming from all directions, surrounding the group. Sarah tried to stay calm, but the fear was overwhelming. She could feel the presence of something evil, watching them, waiting for the right moment to strike. What happened next is something they'll never forget. The shadowy figure appeared again, this time in the middle of the room. It moved closer, its form shifting and twisting as if it were made of smoke. The whispers turned into a deafening roar, and the group ran, desperate to escape. But the asylum wasn't done with them. As they reached the staircase, the figure appeared again, blocking their path. It reached out, its hand cold and lifeless, and touched Sarah's arm. She screamed, and everything went black. When they woke up, they were outside the asylum, the sun rising in the distance. They had no memory of how they got there, but they knew one thing: they would never return to the Blackwood Asylum. To this day, Sarah swears she can still hear the whispers, calling her name in the dead of night. And sometimes, when she looks into the shadows, she sees the figure, watching, waiting.